chapter 8, that is about the materials for vocabulary and grammar. But in my part, I will explain about materials for vocabulary and vocabulary in learning materials. Okay, we start from the first, that is materials for vocabulary. It is generally acknowledged that vocabulary is a vital aspect of language learning. It is, after all, difficult to argue with Wilkins' 1972 remarks on the relative importance of vocabulary and grammar. Without grammar, very little can be conveyed, and without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. And then, according to Smith 2010 gives the following figures that words native speaker typically know 16,000 until 20,000 word families, and a learner need a vocabulary of 8,000 words to read unsimplified materials, and a learner need to know between 2,000 and 500 words for reasonable understanding and use. And then considerable progress has clearly been made in defining how much vocabulary needs to be learned, but such research doesn't tell us exactly what vocabulary should be learned, and nor how it should be learned. If, for example, we could assume that learner would make the sufficient vocabulary gains through exposure to text using process such as inferring meaning from context, then we might limit ourselves as material writer to providing a rich variety of motivating text to promote essential vocabulary learning. Okay, so in material for vocabulary, there is vocabulary selection and vocabulary knowledge. The first is frequency as a criterion. How can we ensure that frequent words are incorporated in the materials? There would seem to be three possibilities that are list of topic-related vocabulary for each unit, and the second one is constructing text to incorporate the target vocabulary, and the third is selecting vocabulary from text which have been included in the material for other purposes, example reading or listening work. It is important to note that these options are not mutually exclusive, and it may be both necessary and desirable to combine them to ensure that learners get adequate exposure to high frequency activity. And another clear reason why frequency cannot be the only criterion is pedagogic convenience. It would be absurd, for example, to separate days of the week in vocabulary syllabus because some days are more frequently mentioned than other in the corpus. Okay, then next there is beyond frequency. Goes beyond frequency to consider a number of other interesting and useful selection criteria that such as frequency of use coverage. Example, go can be used in a wider range of contexts than walk, that is considered by Odell 1997. And then rank, words which can be used in wider range of text should be priorities. Example, acquire a language may be common in language teaching texts. Then, learn a language can be used in a variety of texts. And there is opportunism. We need to be alert to possibilities for teaching vocabulary as they arise. Example, a topical event or an incident in the classroom may provide a suitable opportunity to teach a particular word or set of vocabulary, center of interest, that is considered as like Odell, that argues that learner own interests and needs will come into play the further learner progress through levels of proficiency, and then it will be easier to apply opportunism and center of interest if we are writing material for our own classes or our own teaching context. Okay, next there is selection criteria for collocation and lexical praise. Firstly, semantic predictability refers to how easy it is to infer from meaning of lexical chunk from its component parts. Example, the meaning of the chunk small talk is not easily predictable from its constituent parts. And whereas the meaning of strong coffee is, there is an argument then for focusing on the former rather than the latter, as the latter is self-evident. Secondly, consider to Konzat 2000 gives a useful definition of strong collocation, that is the presence of one word means that you strongly expect the others. In this sense, Dalcott's tones is a very strong collocation, and as it is very difficult to think of any word but tones that could follow Dalcott's example. As soon as you hear the word Dalcott's, you strongly expect to hear tones. Okay, and then the last is word knowledge. As well, we considering what vocabulary needs to be learned. We also need to consider what should be learned about given a lexical item. Then there is type of word knowledge such as style or register, pronunciation, like there is word trace and word grammar, there is morphology and countable or uncountable, and then there is collocation and lexical chunk, and then there is dependent preposition. Okay, then we move to the next material, that is about vocabulary learning in material. And there is bring back old-fashioned techniques. We must now turn our attention to practical ways in incorporating vocabulary work into materials. In this respect, it is interesting to note that certain traditional activities have enjoyed something of a recent renaissance recently, like learning vocabulary from lists and bilingual dictionary works. And according to Foss 2004, is equally emphatic about the value of dictionary work, arguing that the research evidence shows dictionary work to be more effective than guessing from context, and the use of bilingual dictionaries to be more effective than the use of monolingual ones. This suggests that there is a role of materials in training learners to use dictionaries efficiently. Indeed, some course books include mini dictionaries in the material kick. Okay, then next there is semantic and semantic sets. The semantic sets approach involves teaching words in meaning-related groups. Example: fruits, transport, furniture, families, member, and etc. If we take the semantic sets approach to teaching words for family members, for example, we might use a family tree diagram to teach a number of these words. And according to Faust 2004, however, claims that it is more effective to present vocabulary in semantic sets rather than semantic ones, and suggests that family vocabulary could be presented in a semantic set through a story about a trip to the beach, which involves a number of families members. Okay, then next there is depth of processing. Deep side of sometimes conflicting views about how vocabulary should be taught, there does seem to be consensus around three areas. That is depth of processing, according to Craig and Lockhart 1972, and learner strategies and recycling are vital for effective vocabulary learning. And then, based on Cameron 2001, illustrate depth of processing used to present vocabulary for leisure activities to young learners, such the teacher mimes the leisure activities, example swimming, cycling, and say the word at the same time. And the teacher says the words and the pupils mime the activities, and the pupils draw three of activities. The teacher reads out the words and the first pupils to hear three of the words he has drawn in the winners, example like bingo. And then the pupils divide the activities into two groups, ones which are very dangerous and ones which are not so dangerous. And the pupils choose the activities they would like to try. Pupils look at the picture and say the words. There is vocabulary learning strategies. According to Faust 2011, does not prioritize particular strategies but argues that the key factor is that learners have an individualized set of strategies which they apply consistently. We can see a role for materials done in presenting and modeling different vocabulary learning strategies which learner can experiment with and then choose those which they find most effective. Okay, then the last point that is about recycling vocabulary. According to McCartan 2007, argues that materials should be provide opportunities for students to use the vocabulary meaningfully, to say and write true things about themselves and their lives. And according to Nation 2012, suggests is under researcher through key process that meaning focus output does have a role to play in vocabulary retention. And material can recycle vocabulary to games and tasks, and also by ensuring that a learner meet key vocabulary on several occasions in the materials.
Okay, my name is Aryaslam Santoso. For the next material, I will explain about the material for teaching grammar. Before determining the material in teaching grammar, you must pay attention to three things as follow: grammar syllabus, methodology for grammar material, and principal electisms. Sebelum menentukan materi dalam pengajaran grammar, Anda harus memperhatikan tiga hal sebagai berikut. Yang pertama, silabus tata bahasa, metodologi, dan prinsip elektisisme. Okay, for the first material is grammar syllabus. In framing such criteria, we are not assuming that a syllabus is necessarily defined at the outset of material design process. The syllabus may emerge from the text and or tags selected for materials. In this case, the selection criteria outlined above will be applied retrospectively, devising a grammar syllabus based on learners' need. Jadi silabus harus didefinisikan pada awal proses desain material. Silabus juga dapat muncul dari teks atau tugas yang dipilih sebagai materi. Dalam hal ini, pemilihan kriteria dapat diuraikan dan diterapkan secara retrospektif. Merancang silabus juga harus berdasarkan kepada peserta didik. Okay, for the next material is about methodology for grammar material. Present practice produce approach appear to be the dominant methodology. There is a certain logic to this skill building procedure, and it is an easy structure to implement in materials. Jadi pendekatan present, practice, dan produce atau 3P tampaknya menjadi metodologi yang sangat dominan karena memiliki struktur yang sangat mudah untuk diimplementasikan dalam mengajar grammar. However, 3P approach require output as part of the grammar learning process rather than simply as grammar practice activities. Namun, pendekatan 3P ini membutuhkan keluaran sebagai bagian dari proses pembelajaran tata bahasa, bukan hanya sebagai kegiatan latihan tata bahasa. And then, we need also to consider the role of practice in the 3P approach. The argument based on the Kaiser 2003 is that learners can, through intensive, meaningful practice, develop automatic control of structures which have initially been learned explicitly. Jadi, kita juga perlu mempertimbangkan peran praktik dalam pendekatan 3P ini. Hal tersebut berdasarkan kepada The Kaiser tahun 2003 yang berpendapat bahwa praktik dalam pendekatan 3P ini dapat melalui latihan bermakna secara intensif dan juga mengembangkan kontrol otomatis dari struktur atau grammar yang awalnya dipelajari secara eksplisit. And then for the next is about principal eclecticisms. Eclecticism is easy to achieve, but we must return to the notions of principal eclecticisms. Principal eclecticism is the use of variety of language learning activities must be guided by giving appropriate importance to the different components of language learning rather than separating them into chunks of grammar and vocabulary. And then for the main criteria are outlined below. THEMIS 2012 include age, level, learners' expectations, learner abilities, and nature of language point to be taught. And then for the last material is about further reading one. It's based on McCartan 2007 points out that while spoken and written vocabulary have much in common, they also differ in some respect. Some of the specific features of spoken vocabulary she notes relate to the interactive nature of conversations. McCartan describes a number of categories in the interactive vocabulary of conversations, include discourse markers, responses, monitoring expressions, figure expressions, hedging, and expressions of stance. Maybe that's all from me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Putri Dwi Nurjana from 7th group with Nopi and Ari. So the next material is further reading 2. Strength 2013. Initial complaint is that grammar has a dominant role in course book, which seemed to him obsessive. The next complaint in the chapter is that grammar work is randomly lexicalized. The vocabulary used to exemplify and practice structure is not the vocabulary typically used with that structure. Bieber and Conrad 2010. For example, note that there are certain verbs which are typically used in the present continuous. Example, choking, bleeding, and starving. Nah, jadi keluhan awal strength ini itu adalah bahwa si tata bahasa itu memiliki dominan dalam buku pelajaran. Nah, yang baginya itu tampak obsesif. Keluhan berikutnya dalam bab ini itu adalah bahwa tata bahasa itu bekerja secara leksikal, yaitu kosakata yang digunakannya tuh untuk mencontohkan dan melatih struktur. Struktur bukanlah kosakata yang biasanya digunakan dengan struktur itu. Nah, di sini Bieber dan Conrad. Misalnya, perhatikan bahwa ada beberapa kata kerja yang biasanya digunakan dalam present continuous, misalnya seperti yang tadi dijelaskan, yaitu ada choking, bleeding, and starving. Jadi si praktik tata bahasa yang biasanya disediakan dalam buku pelajaran ini menurut Strength terlalu sering dikontrol dan didekontekstualisasikan. Nah, jadi akhirnya si Strength ini mengamati bahwa tata bahasa harus dicontohkan melalui bahasa yang mewakili penggunaan yang realistis dan menyeruakan kegiatan produksi yang memungkinkan pembelajar membuat ucapan yang bermakna dan mengatakan hal-hal yang mungkin ingin mereka katakan di dunia nyata. Okay, and the last is conclusion. In concluding, this chapter on issues involved with designing material for vocabulary and grammar teaching. It is useful to summarize the main points that have been made in each section. With respect to section 8 and 2 on developing material for teaching vocabulary, this can be synthesized as follows. Efficient vocabulary learning in crucial to language learning. Corpus research has given us a clearer idea of the number of word learning need to learn, and corpus research has drawn attention to the importance of collocation and lexical chunk, as well as individual words, and learner cannot normally be expected to learn enough vocabulary in incidental material for vocabulary and grammar, and principal criteria. Example, frequency, learnability, and learner interest are needed to decide what vocabulary to teach. And last, there is more to learning a word than simply learning its basic meaning. Learning a word thoroughly is an incremental process. Jadi kesimpulannya itu dalam menyimpulkan bab ini itu tentang isu-isu yang melibatkan dengan merancang bahan untuk pengajaran kosakata dan tata bahasa akan berguna untuk meringkas poin-poin utama yang telah dibuat di setiap bagian. Nah, pengembangan bahan untuk pengajaran kosakata ini dapat disintesiskan sebagai berikut. Kayak pembelajaran kosakata yang efisien sangat penting untuk pembelajaran bahasa. Lalu penelitian korpus telah memberikan kita gambaran yang lebih jelas tentang jumlah yang perlu dipelajari pelajar. Lalu peneliti korpus telah menarik perhatian pada pentingnya kolokasi dan potongan leksikal serta kata-kata individu. Lalu pembelajaran biasanya tidak dapat diharapkan untuk mempelajari kosakata yang cukup secara kebetulan. Nah, materi kosakata dan tata bahasa. Lalu ada kriteria prinsip. Misalnya frekuensi, kemampuan belajar, dan minat belajar diperlukan untuk memutuskan kosakata apa yang akan diajarkan. And the last, belajar sebuah kata lebih dari sekedar mempelajari arti dasarnya. Mempelajari kata secara menyeluruh adalah proses tambahan. Okay guys, maybe enough from our group, and thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.